Now, this morning on the programme, and you've been sending in plenty of comments on this, we're hearing about the possibility of compulsory eye tests for drivers over 70 years of age, and the possibility of being banned from driving if you fail that test. Well, at the moment, driving licences expire when you reach 70, but you self-declare you're fit to drive every 3 years after that. Potential changes are expected to be included in a new road safety strategy due to be published by the government in the autumn. Well, Eva Devey is an optometrist at Style Optique in Market Drayton and is with me now. Eva, good morning.
Good morning, Adam.
Thanks for being with us. What are your thoughts on this story?
I suppose as an industry, first of all, we are glad that sight and driving is now being taken more seriously, because if we think about it as it stands currently, at the age of 17, you can pass your driving test just by looking at a number plate 20 metres away, which is an inadequate test really for sight because it doesn't take into account field of vision or other things. And potentially then you could go all the way to 70 or each renewal of your licence every 10 years and just self-declare that you're fit to drive without ever actually having an eye test. So I think we've been campaigning, our Association of Optometrists and College, for regular eye tests, mandatory for everybody, really. I mean, ideally, that would be every 2 years across all age groups for all drivers. But certainly every time somebody renews, rather than just self-declaring that they have an actual vision tech by optometrist. The fact of over 70s, I can see why a lot of people may feel that's discriminatory and almost like, do we not trust the over 70s? But I don't think it's about that. I think the government already sight tests for free under the NHS every 12 months for over 70s. And the reason they do that is because you are far more at risk over 70 of having sight-threatening disease more than any other age group. So I would imagine if it is just for over 70s, I mean, we don't actually know what these rules are actually yet, but I would imagine it's just maybe the first cohort perhaps that they're dealing with, because that's the age group that are more at risk of more sight-threatening conditions.
Would you ever suggest to a patient that they consider stopping driving?
If a patient is under the legal driving limits and there's nothing that can be done, for example, if they've got severe macular degeneration or something where there's nothing that can be done, then yes, we would legally have to tell them that they are no longer legal to drive. But I find in most cases, certainly for our patients or clients, a lot of people, as they get older, if they start feeling unsafe to drive, they tend to stop driving naturally anyway, regardless of whether they're in the legal limits or not. So the people that come to their eye test regularly are probably not the ones we're talking about here, because there's a lot of people that don't have their eye tested regularly. Those are the ones that making it mandatory would be a good idea for.
Do you think the suggestions that you ran us through a moment ago about these eye tests every 2 years, let's say, is that something you think you can see ever happening, or are we just going to be living with these new rules for a while yet?
I don't know. I know they're going through a big overhaul at the moment, aren't they, with all aspects of driving, not just vision, because there are a lot more accidents on the road now, there are a lot more cars on the road now, and there are a lot more people over 70 that are driving on the roads now more than ever before. So I don't know is the answer to that. I mean, we recommend as optometrists that you have your eyes tested every 2 years, regardless of whether you're a driver or not. If you're a driver, that should be, absolutely, because you're responsible for your own safety and the safety of other people on the roads and also your passengers as well. But as I say, our governing bodies have been campaigning for, at the very minimum, every time you renew your licence, which is every 10 years, that you get a certified visual check to say that you're safe to drive, rather than it just being a self-declaration of a number plate test for 20 metres that isn't really fit for purpose. And certainly most other countries don't do it like that. They do have proper health professionals certifying whether you are fit to drive.
What should people do if they are worried about their eyesight and it's starting to affect their driving?
Absolutely go and get an eye test. In fact, the reason why regular eye tests are so important is because what you really want, you don't really want to have that first mandatory eye test at 70 and find out that there's something which is irreversible. Ideally, if you're having your eye tests every 2 years regularly, if there are early conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, things that can potentially, really affect your sight, but if we can catch those early enough, we can do something about that so that you can continue driving for far longer. For a lot of our clients, driving is so important for their independence. A lot of people in the 70s now are looking after grandchildren, taking their grandchildren around and things like that. Driving is so important to them. So it is important that the more regularly, the more mandatory we can make eye tests as an important part of looking after our general health, the better really it will be for everybody. Starting with the over 70s, if that is the case, we don't know yet, but starting with over 70s, we are moving in the right direction, really. At least it's something that is now being taken seriously.
Eva, thank you very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate that. That's Eva Duvet, an optometrist in Market Drayton, talking about the proposed changes that could see over 70s banned from driving if they fail eye tests.